Looks like you've been missing a lot of work lately.
I wouldn't say I've been missing it, Bob.
What would you say you do here?
God damn it. Bob, we love playing here tonight. My brother's running.
It helps if you think of it as a game, Bob. Every game has a winner and a loser.
You must possess strength to inflict pain, Bob.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. And
Good evening.
You
interrupt your regularly scheduled programming.
And welcome to the Two Bobs Cast. We're an A to Z rock and metal podcast coming to you live almost every Tuesday evening. This is episode 63, and we welcome the American people. How are you, Mr. H?
I'm doing pretty well.
Great.
Yeah.
That is great to hear.
Great. And now weather. Now sports.
No, it's been ridiculous and cold and stupid, and
Yeah, right.
it's going to be 50 for one day. I think Thursday.
Yeah, melt that snow.
Lots of mud pits and
Yeah, and
not
rainy.
mosh pits.
Yeah, 52 and rainy. Great. Melt all that snow and cause some rivers all over.
Yep.
Nice.
A lot of fun.
But that's not why we're here.
That is not why we're here. We wanted to put 2025 out with a bang.
Dang.
We kind of cheated a little bit, but that's okay because we can do whatever we want. So
You
we
can't
wanted
stop us.
you can't. Nobody can stop us except each other can stop us. That's it.
Right.
So we mentioned last week we wanted to do something quick. We didn't have a whole lot of time to research, so we went with not only a band that we're familiar with, but we picked the albums we wanted to do in our own way. So yes, we are going to do the band Queensryche today. But as stated last week, we are only going to do the 6 albums that all 5 original members were a part of, or that I guess that they did, because
The
I guess
members you see right
yep,
there.
those
Right
5, those guys right there. So we're not doing the EP, though I'm sure we'll have some things to say about it. But we're doing the first 6 records after that, the 1 through 6. And Mr. H will introduce you to those gentlemen here in a second. Hopefully down the road, we will do the rest of some of these albums because, after the 6th album, there is still some really good stuff there for sure. Maybe we could get Hendo in here, our buddy Brian Hendrickson, because he is more familiar with some of the Todd LaTorre stuff. But
He is our Queensryche expert.
yes, he is,
as you would say.
But we will not be mentioning past this part Todd LaTorre because we're just doing the first 6 albums. So, Mr. H, what do you got about Queensryche?
Queensryche, the big Q stands for Queensryche. Remember those Quaker Steak commercials?
Yes.
The big Q stands for quality. Not in this case. It stands for
Right.
Queensryche. And quality, I guess.
Yeah.
Formed in 1980 in Bellevue, Washington, which my geographically expert partner here looked up and found out that it is a suburb of Seattle. I wasn't sure if it was really close. They talk a lot about Seattle, and I just wasn't sure, so we looked it up. And sure enough, right there by Seattle. Originally called Crossfire, and then renamed themselves to The Mob, and they were doing some, I think, cover songs of Iron Maiden and Judas Priest stuff, which is weird because, 1982, Priest and Maiden were just getting popular and, weren't really around for all that long, but they were doing covers. And then in 1982, changed their name to Queensryche. The original lineup, the classic lineup also is what they are sometimes called, we will review today, consisted of Jeff Tate on vocals, Chris DeGarmo on guitar, Michael Wilton on guitar, Eddie Jackson on bass, and drummer Scott Rockenfield, which Yeah, what a cool name for a drummer, right?
That's an awesome name.
They sold 20 million plus albums worldwide and are considered one of the big three of progressive metal with Dream Theater and Fate's Warning also. So they came out with an EP called Queensryche in 1982 that only had 4 songs on it. But I wanted to mention it because we're not going to rank it because it's not a full album. It's not really even half an album. It's only 4 songs. But there's 2 ridiculously good songs on this album that they still play today, 43 years later. So it sounds like crap, of course. But damn, you could really hear what this band was capable of on a couple of just great songs. And those notable songs are Queen of the Reich and The Lady Wore Black. Great, absolutely fantastic songs. So they are not on any of their other albums. They are only on the EP. So I'm sure you could find them on extended versions of other albums and live versions or whatever because they play them all the time still. So, but I just had to throw that out there. Did you want to mention anything about the EP? I hadn't even heard of them at this point. I was 10 years old. So.
Nope. Yeah, no, I wasn't even close to it. The only reason I know is because of the reason you stated is they play the 2 songs you're referring to. I've only seen Queensryche, I think 3-4 times, and I've heard both songs multiple times.
Yes.
Even Tate, when I saw him solo, he plays those
Yep.
2 songs as well.
Mhm.
So, no, excellent. Yeah, you're right. It sounds like crap, and it kind of goes into the first record, which we'll talk about.
Yeah.
Just the production kind of kills it, but I mean the songwriting just shines right through. I mean, these guys just write great songs. So
They do, and they've slowed way down on that. But for a time here, and the classic lineup, we should say, writes great songs. Like after it wasn't these 5 guys anymore contributing to songwriting in different ways. Obviously, they fell way off. So. But it even kind of fell off towards their end too, and music changed. But we'll get to all that later.
Yeah.
So the first album came out September 7th, 1984, called The Warning. This has 9 songs on it. It was produced by James Guthrie, who produced a lot of Pink Floyd stuff. So you'd think it'd sound really good, right? No, it does not.
Not so much.
Not so much. But that's not his fault. It's not James
No.
Guthrie's fault. There is a reason for that. It was inspired by kind of world events and also the George Orwell novel 1984. There's some like cards, like tarot cards ish, like on the cover there, and the one in the middle says The Warning, and it's got these big green like eyeballs shining lights out. So pretty cool. It was recorded in various recording studios in London, as I said, with James Guthrie. This is kind of more straight ahead metal than future kind of progressive rock / metal that they'll be known for real soon here after this. I like this album a lot more than I used to because it is kind of different, but there is a lot of really good songs on here. So this one is kind of getting close to overtaking another album of theirs for me. But the thing that kind of holds us back is it just doesn't sound very good. This album was kind of taken out of the band's hands. I guess they had like $30,000 or something to record this, or 300,000, or I don't think it was three. It was 300,000. They were 300,000. I'm sorry, over budget, and they went to go mix it, and the record company was like, "No, we got a guy. He's gonna mix it for us." And the album was kind of taken out of their hands and mixed by a guy who doesn't mix metal albums, and he didn't know anything about the band at all. He'd never really heard the band. So as a result, the band hates the mix of it, and it really doesn't sound very good. This guy mixed it as to, this is 1984. He mixed it to what he felt like it should sound like in 1984 and didn't really get any kind of input from the band at all. I feel like his biggest mistake, though, it doesn't sound that bad. Like, I know people, my buddy Rob, for instance, he's like, this album would probably be higher on his list if it sounded better, if it was mixed better. But to me, it doesn't sound that awful. It doesn't sound as bad as the EP. His biggest mistake is he kind of buried the guitar and the drums, which makes sense because he wasn't a guy who mixed metal music, so that kind of makes sense. The vocals are way up front. Like you can hear
Yeah.
the vocals perfectly clearly, and does sound great. But the rest of the stuff just kind of falls off behind it. So that was the problem that he that was a mistake he made anyway. On tour for this album too, check out the bands that this band was on tour with on their first album tour. They opened for Kiss on the Animalize tour in the States. They opened for Iron Maiden on the World Slavery tour in the States. They opened for Dio on the Last in Line tour in Europe, and also Accept on their Metal Heart tour. Like, that's some serious heavy hitters that these guys, and I think these guys are they're one of those bands that's not only has fans, they're also like a musician's band also. Like they do things so well that musicians kind of, I believe, took notice of these guys and were like, hey, let's get these guys out on tour because they liked them too. So, but that's a really, really huge lineup of bands that they toured with on their first album tour. That's insane. Like, think of the amount of fans that you get exposed to touring with those four bands.
Oh yeah.
Unbelievable. My favorites on this one are Deliverance, No Sanctuary, NM 156, and Take Hold of the Flame. I absolutely love Take Hold of the Flame. You were playing that a little earlier right before we came in here. What a ridiculously good song that is. But this album's, it's 9 songs, but there's a lot of really good stuff on here. Skippers, none really. They all work for me on this one. There's nothing that I'm really like, I don't really care for. Like, I pretty much like the whole thing. I had this as a B. I had this number 4 out of the 6 albums that we're going to rank. The production isn't the greatest, like I said, but it's otherwise a pretty good album, and it's kind of grown on me over the years. I like this more and more. Like, I listen to it, and I kind of forget. It's one of those ones where it kind of falls off because they have so much other great material. I listen to it, and I'm like, man, I should listen to this more often. Like, this is really good. So I do really like this album. So I have this as a B and number 4. What did you think of The Warning?
Yeah, I'm going to gush a lot on this episode. I absolutely love this band, especially these albums that we're doing today. It's, just sometimes it's one of these bands you discover and it does everything you want them to do. And Chris DeGarmo is one of my favorite guitar players.
Yes.
I think
and Michael Wilton's he's no slouch.
No,
These guys are great together, which we bring up a lot.
No, absolutely. I mean, the songs are amazingly crafted, and they all 5 of them deserve credit. I'm just a DeGarmo fanboy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a sucker for the guitar solos, and he has some of the most incredible solos over the years. So again, I fanboy over DeGarmo, but yeah, no, Wilton's fantastic too. Obviously, Jeff Tate is fantastic. He's obviously, one of those that you hear his voice, you know exactly who it is, all those type of things. So yeah, I there's not going to be a lot of skippers today for me all around. The Warning is really, really good. And I probably didn't start listening to it until probably the last 5 or 10 years. But I was glad that I went back to it because, it's really, really good. I think the songs can hold up with any of these other records. You mentioned it. The production is just really what kills it. DeGarmo and Wilton are just hidden, like you said. They're buried under the mix. And it's frustrating because the songs are really fantastic. But these guys sound a lot like Dio here. I mean, a lot of that type of, metal. There's really not a lot of progressive here. It's funny you mentioned them being mentioned in the big 3 or big 4, whatever. A lot of Dio, a lot of you mentioned what's the mind is going blank. Judas Priest, a lot of that type of metal in here. Mm-hmm. But fantastic. They did a really, really great job. I love right from the beginning. Warning. The Warning is awesome. Deliverance, like you said, NM 156. Basically down the list of everything DeGarmo writes, even Enforce is really, really good.
Yeah.
It's funny. Like, I'll listen to songs and I'll be like, yep, I love this one. And I'll go back in. DeGarmo, of course, was a writer on it. I'm just a huge fanboy.
Yeah.
He probably shouldn't get as much credit as I give him, but just if he's fantastic. And when he leaves, things just get really, really choppy for me, especially. I just think he really is one of the main forces behind the songwriting for these guys. Take Hold of Flame, of course, classic song. Anytime they play that live, it's one of their highlights of their set. And a hidden gem for me is the closer, the Roads to Madness. I think is fantastic. I love it. I like when they can put together some of their slower songs, and they're just really, really good. Um, so the warning for me is going to end up at number 5 for me, but it's a B. In any other band, this would be really high on the list. But there's just so many fantastic records coming up here that I kind of have to give some of the other ones a little bit of a leg up, because every album from here on out just sounds way better. Great songs, though, and I mean that's the important thing, right? There's no skippers on here, of course, just like you. I have The Warning at number 5 and a B.
All right. On to Rage for Order, June 27th, 1986. This is 11 songs on it. This was produced by Neil Kernon. I'm not too familiar with Neil Kernon, but this is the only album he does with Queensryche. This is where I first discovered Queensryche myself, was on this album. I remember this pretty vividly for whatever reason. I was talking to you a little bit earlier. Like, I don't remember when the first time I heard Guns N' Roses was. Like, when the first time that I heard Welcome to Jungle, if it was on MTV or if it was, on the radio or whatever. But for whatever reason, this one is just burnt into my brain that I'm sitting there after school, in 1986, and they released Gonna Get Close to You, which is a cover song of Lisa Dalbello, which she went by Dalbello off of her third album. They covered this song. Now, this is kind of I remember the video, and I remember Jeff Tate. He's standing outside a sliding glass door, and he's tapping his finger on the glass, like kind of to the beat of the song. And I just remember that I have this vision in my head. I can remember it like it was yesterday, like him standing there. It's like tapping this glass, like out in the rain. And I remember it being like a Human League or Soft Cell type of song, like one of those kind of synth bands from the early 80s. It kind of sounds like that, but it has extra guitar and bass in it. So I was kind of drawn to it, and I really liked it. And then when I looked for and found more songs by this band, I was like, holy crap, these guys actually really rock. Like, there's so much more than just that. But I was like, I was so intrigued by that. It's just one of those things that just burned in my brain. Like, I'll never forget that. That was the first time that I heard Queensryche. And then from then on, I was trying to find other Queensryche to consume, because I really like that. And I found out, my buddy had Rage for Order, and we listened to other songs. I'm like, oh my God, like, this is like Walk in the Shadows. I'm like, this is amazing. So they were even better than I thought they were. And I was kind of intrigued by that even. So, but yeah, so just a weird, I don't know why they decided to release that song first off of this album and make a video, but it just really stuck with me. I also thought, in listening to this, it didn't really kind of hit me until this time through listening to this album, is that Surgical Strike, the song Surgical Strike is song 6. It sounds really similar to Spreading the Disease off of the next album.
Yep.
So I just thought that was really interesting. I kept hearing the one part of that song, and I'm like, man, this sounds really familiar. And I'm like, this is kind of Spreading the Disease. Like, it's kind of like an early version almost. It seems like it's not the same song, but it's close. This is a little more glam metal and less kind of heavy edge than The Warning was. And I feel like this kind of a sign of the times, kind of with the glossy, Gonna Get Close to You, kind of like an electronic-y kind of like that they did that cover. Like, this it kind of fits in what they were doing here. I mean, it's obviously still heavy and rock, but it's not as heavy edged as The Warning was, like you were mentioning, like Judas Priest. It's not quite like that. This is where they're starting to change. But the first 4 songs on here, Walk in the Shadows, I Dream in Infrared, The Whisper, and Gonna Get Close to You, like, shout out to the remastered version of this album and Beats solo headphones. Like, oh my god, what a sonic just masterpiece it is. Those songs sound so good in your headphones, and it just keeps going. But I remember I texted you and Brian like while I was listening to it, and I'm like, oh my god, it's just such ear candy, and there's things going on all over the place, and this album is 40 years old.
Yep.
And but it obviously that's a remastered version. I'm sure that the original, version doesn't sound that good, but man, oh, it sounds so good even today, or a couple days ago when I was listening to it. But so my favorites are those first four songs, and I like New Rigel, and Killing Words is good, which is the fifth song. Screaming in Digital is good. Like this album's they're kind of feeling where they want to go. They're kind of getting in that direction, but they're not quite there yet. But they're kind of going in the direction that they want to go. They're kind of, I felt like they took this big rock thing that they're doing, and they're kind of funneling it into what they were getting to. So there's definitely some different stuff here, but it's all really good stuff. So I have no skippers. It's all really good stuff, top to bottom. Rating for me on this one is a B plus. I have this at number 3. Again, they're really like kind of hitting their stride and setting the stage for greatness and superstardom for themselves here coming up really shortly. So, but I have this at B plus number 3, Rage for Order. What did you think?
Yeah, I have it basically right along the lines of where you have it. This is fantastic. Still, again, not when I found him, not when I listened to him. I was 5 years old when this happened, so I was not in the ballpark yet of Queensryche. But obviously, going back and listening to this, it's awesome, and I know Hendo really loves this album a lot. I remember the tour we just saw recently was supposed to, I think, be Rage for Order, either the full album or more from it. I think initially, and then they changed it.
Yeah.
So Hendo is super excited about it, and I was like, well, I'd rather have more of the next two albums, but
Yeah.
but again, I know a lot of the fans love this album,
Mhm.
rightfully so. It's fantastic. You mentioned it; those first 4 songs are fantastic. Walk in the Shadows is other than their next 2 albums, it's probably their next biggest, I would say, hit. Just recognizable, I think. I love Screaming in Digital.
Yeah.
I love Chemical Youth. New Rigel also is phenomenal. It starts out slow and it goes. It's a great tune. Yeah, just again, great songwriting here. Definitely, like you said, the biggest upgrade from the Warning is the just how well it sounds.
Mhm.
The guitars are brought up in the mix. Everything sounds really good, mixed really well together. So fantastic album. Not, like I said, not a whole lot to say, just really, really good. I also had it number 3, and I had a B plus as well. Just fantastic. It really does live up. It's hard to believe it came out in '86 with
I
how
know.
good it sounds. Also added here, there was a little bit of keyboards in the first one, but
Yeah.
I think they do a really good job here of really bringing those keyboards up in the mix too. And it's such a huge part of their sound with the keyboards mixed in, coming up, especially in the next few albums. But here you really start to hear those keyboards come through. And the keyboards here were actually played by that Neil Kernan on this record. So, it really, really does sound fantastic. DeGarmo and the boys brought it again. So number 3, Rage for Order, B plus as well for me.
I wanted to share too. My buddy Rob sent me his rankings too. So he had the Warning number 5, and he had Rage for Order number 2.
Okay.
Which he's like Brian, like he's a huge fan of this band, and he loves Rage for Order. I think
Yeah.
he saw them on the Rage for Order tour when they were opening for somebody. So, but anyway, he's a big fan of them too. So he ranked his for me. I forgot to mention that on the first album. But yeah,
Awesome.
that's really, really good stuff here. All right, on to greatness. May 3rd, 1988, 17 tracks. I don't even know. There's a bunch of
It's
extra
15 on the
stuff in
original.
there.
Yeah.
But 15 on the original. This is Operation Mindcrime. Everybody that knows who Queensryche is knows this album pretty much front to back, top to bottom, left to right, inside and out. This was produced by Peter Collins, masterfully produced by Peter Collins. He's going to produce 3 of these next 4 albums here, this being the first one. As you mentioned earlier, as you were talking about Chris DeGarmo, Chris DeGarmo and Michael Wilton are incredible on this album. I mean, all of it is amazing. All of it is really good. I mean, they all have their little parts, but Wilton and DeGarmo, like if you're a fan of guitar playing, two guitar attack bands like Judas Priest, and like these guys, they play so well together. Their harmonies, their different parts mixed together, like it's outstanding. It's absolutely outstanding. The idea for this album came from Jeff Tate moving to Montreal and being close to the Quebec separatist movement going on there at the time he was living there. He had to eventually kind of came up with this plan of this story, and he had to sell all the band members on the idea separately. But once he got DeGarmo on board with him, and Chris DeGarmo was really excited about it and really enthusiastic about it, like Jeff was once he kind of spelled it out for him. Then everybody else kind of followed in and was like, "All right, let's do this." They recorded a sequel in 2006 that's nowhere near as good. With Ronnie James Dio is even on it, involved as Dr. X, a character in the story. They did release a DVD of a show on that tour where they performed both of these albums in their entirety and called it Mind Crime at the Moor. It's something. It's a DVD that I should own, but don't. I don't know why I don't. I mean, the second one's not nearly as good, but it's still decent, and it kind of expands this story, and it tells you things that this story doesn't, and it still has like the same characters in it, so it kind of follows it up. I also just saw Jeff Tate in April here in Cleveland perform. He said for the final time, but I believe he said that like 9 times already. That he's going to perform this album in its entirety, for the final time. So the final chapter, I think it was called or something, but it was unbelievably good. I mean, he's got 3 guitar players now, and I mean, there's no other members of Queensryche in the band with him, and it's just called Jeff Tate. So on the split, Queensryche got the name, but Jeff Tate got Operation Mindcrime, where he's the only one that's allowed to perform it all in its entirety. Queensryche themselves perform lots of songs off this album, but they can't perform the whole story live, and Jeff Tate is allowed to do that. So, but he came here, and he still sounded great. The band that he put together sounded amazing. Like, there was so much guitar. It was so like loud, and it sounded so good. They just came out and right from the start just ripped through this whole album and played a whole bunch of other songs too, but this was the highlight of the whole thing. I mean, I honestly could have probably just left after that.
Yeah.
It's so incredibly good. I mean, it was originally sold in this club level of Temple Live, which doesn't even exist anymore. And it was sold at this club level. They had 3 different venues in there. One of them was this big auditorium. Well, they sold it out, and they had to move it to the big area. And then they weren't letting anybody sit in the seats because they were going to have everybody stand on the floor, because the club level was a slightly smaller, half, 2/3 of the size of the floor area. So they were just going to have people standing on the floor, those people. Well, they kept selling tickets and selling tickets and selling tickets that it got so packed they had to open up the seats. And then by the time, the show went on, and by the time the openers were done, there was like, I don't know, 4 or 5 rows deep up in the seats, and the floor was full. Like, it was crazy. Like, people just kept showing up to this concert. It was fantastic. One of the best shows I saw this year. Not Ghost level, but way, way up there. This is probably 2 or 3 for me as far as shows in 2025. Outstanding. My favorites on this album are all of them. I mean, I would not part with a single part of this story. The whole thing's amazing. My favorite section of it, if I had to pick part of it, would be Breaking the Silence into I Don't Believe in Love and Waiting for 22. Those kind of all go together as part of the story also. I thought it would take too much time to really kind of explain the entire story. I don't know if you want to do it, but I feel like it's something that if somebody tells you the story it's not as good as listening to the album and experiencing the story yourself,
Yeah.
because it's all in there. If you get the CD, it's all in there. You can read the lyrics. They even have, I think, other parts in the panels of the CD that kind of tell you what's going on. And then you can hear it in the songs. Like, the story is so well told that you can hear it in the songs. It's not just like this loose concept. Like, the story is actually told in all of the songs. It's just amazing that they could take something like that and write all these songs around it and have them sound so good. Like, nothing of it sounds forced, but it all tells this giant story, which is it's just amazing. So skippers, of course not. There's nothing on here it's even remotely worth skipping. So, I mean, I guess I could see people wanting to maybe skip part of like Sweet Sister Mary, because there's this big kind of section in the middle. It's like 11 minutes long, but it's such an integral part of the story. Like, you can't skip that too. Like, you just can't skip that either. So, but just song wise, I could see people like, oh, this could be kind of boring. But if you're into the story and you're listening to this album, you can't skip that either. There's just nothing that you could skip on here. So this is an A plus easily for me. This is number one, the number one album on their list for me, along with a couple of Pink Floyd's greatest stories, Dark Side of the Moon, The Wall. This is one of the greatest original story concept albums. So excluding TSO, which they do great stuff too, but they tell stories that are already in existence, right?
Mm-hmm.
They embellish, they add stuff to them, but there's just stories that we know about Christmas or whatever. So excluding them, this is the greatest original story concept album that I think I've ever heard, other than, like I said, those couple. And definitely the single greatest metal one I've ever heard. There's no metal story album I've heard that I like more than this one. This one, it's amazing. It sounds amazing. It's jam-packed with amazing songs. It tells a really cool story, probably worthy of a motion picture if they fleshed it out. There's just nothing else I could say. I mean, it's greatness. It's absolute greatness. What did you think of Operation Mindcrime?
Yeah, I agree with you. Now, I'm probably putting it top 3 or 4 for me when we're talking rock operas.
You got to get
sure.
the Who. You got to get Tommy in there, right?
No, not as much. I mean, again, it's up there.
Yeah.
I'd put this ahead, way ahead. I would say
about that one.
Yeah, no, but you're right though. I mean, that's up there, but music wise, like, this blows that stuff away. I would probably put now I have a really soft spot for and I don't love David Bowie, but I love his Ziggy Stardust album, which my dad played nonstop for me. So that's the only album I know any David Bowie other than hits. And that is a phenomenal front to back tour de force. Every song is great.
Yeah,
and then
fair.
I would I would definitely
stand David Bowie.
Yeah,
personally can't stand the man or his music.
That's fair. Yeah, that's
can't
fair.
stand anything about that guy. Never could. So that's sorry.
It's okay. And then, of course, I'm going to shout out to my boy Swag Dubs. Also, Green Day's American Idiot, I think, as far as a current version of that, were just a phenomenal, and especially they redefined themselves because of how huge they were early on when, they put Dookie out, they were top of the world, and then they were fading into obscurity, and then came out with American Idiot and sold a trillion, billion, gazillion copies
yes,
of that.
They did.
And became huge. And then, of course, you mentioned Pink Floyd. The Wall, of course, is going to be up there. So those are my favorite concept albums. And of course, like you just mentioned, Operation Mindcrime. Yeah, I won't get too much into the story. It's pretty simply, it's a person joins a revolutionary group. It's a drug addict. So, that going from there, just disillusioned by society and, wanting to make a difference. And of course gets into with a revolutionary group, and it's very current to real world events today.
It really is. That's so funny that you say that.
Yes,
it really is.
I think that's what, to me, you kind of not laugh, because again, it's not funny and it's a lot of serious stuff, but it's just the world. It's almost, I give Tate a ton of credit here, because it's almost like he was predicting the future and future events, and not exactly like one specific event, but just kind of the state of the world, and just for him to come up with this, and it just hit so close to home. Just phenomenal. But great, great, great album. I mean, there's only so much more I can say than what you said. I think from the point that you said, from Breaking the Silence to the end of, it's just one of the best runs of any album I think that's ever been created. Eyes of a Stranger is just like the perfect closer for this whole thing. It's just amazing. Probably one of my favorite songs ever written, not just Queensryche, but when I was working Queensryche when you guys were there, and I had to run out there because there was a few times where they were playing songs and I just had to hear it. And Eyes of a Stranger is one of them. Like, just love that song. And again, DeGarmo and Tate wrote that one, of course. They wrote also Breaking the Silence and I Don't Believe in Love together as well. So again, DeGarmo is gold for me. Anything he writes to me is, I worship it. And a lot of these songs, and Wilton is great too, Speak and Spreading the Disease, but like those songs are just, they kind of are like supporting actors to these huge ass songs for me. But I love Operation Mindcrime. Definitely A plus 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 for me. I never get sick of this.
Me neither, man.
I never skip a second of it. Like, it's a perfect heavy metal album, and it's not all heavy metal, so I guess that's why I hesitate to even say heavy metal. There's so many styles of music in here, and there's like 30 like memorable guitar solos and guitar parts that I just go back to and listen to. Absolutely phenomenal. Again, A plus plus number one. It's not even close, and I love this next album we're going to talk about too. But you can't even compare it, because like this is just a phenomenal thing. So, Operation Mindcrime number one, A plus.
All right, yeah, Operation Mindcrime. It's one of those ones too where I can't even just listen to certain tracks off of it. Like, I have to listen. If I start listening to it and I'm like on song 3 or something and it comes on, like I have to go find it and listen to the rest of it. Like, it's just that good. I can't turn it off. It's like one of those great movies that doesn't matter where you come into it, you have to watch the rest of it.
Sure.
Like, that's how this album is for me. Like, I have to listen to the rest of it.
See, Swag Dubs is here. Thanks for stopping by, Brian.
He just shouted your American Idiot out.
Yep.
It is amazing, though.
It is an amazing album, no doubt about it. It's kind of it's really hard to compare it to anything else that's come out, in the last 20 years, because most of these amazing, story albums have come out, 30, 40 years ago at this point. Nobody really does it anymore.
No, they don't.
So
they don't. And when they try, they suck usually. So
yeah, right.
Because they try to fit the story into the songs where it just doesn't work. You know.
Didn't they they made this on Broadway too? I think they did a Broadway thing for it.
I want to say they did. I don't. It never came here. I would have definitely tried to go see it, but yeah, I believe they did. I don't think it ran for very long though. I don't know if it just didn't do well or it was just too out there for people. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that's another one though. Man, I'll throw on that, and I got to listen to the whole thing. It's just really, really good.
Right.
So.
All right, so on to September 4th, 1990. We have Empire. 11 songs on this one. This is Peter Collins again. Again, this album still sounds great 35 years later. Jet City Woman is on this album, and it's probably my favorite Queensryche song overall ever. I never get tired of it, and it kind of encompasses like everything that I like about this band. It has elements of absolutely everything that I like about this band. The harmonies, Jeff Tate's singing, the story of the song itself is a really great like story to it too, and you can hear it through the lyrics. And again, DeGarmo again, it's just ridiculous guitar playing in here. So as you mentioned, DeGarmo, he's involved with all the really great songs, with few exceptions. There's a couple, on this album specifically. Empire is a ridiculously good song, and DeGarmo was not involved in writing that song. So,
but he played that guitar solo.
Yes, Woo-hoo! Yes, he did. Yes,
he
did.
Man, it melts like butter. Oh,
it does. It really does. So, I almost hate to say it, but I hope to kind of never hear Silent Lucidity ever again. Like
Yeah.
we always say, not the band's fault. It's just this beaten to death song for me. Like 7 times out of 10, you hear a Queensryche song, it's that one song. They have so many other great songs, but 7 or 8 times out of 10, you're hearing Silent Lucidity wherever you're going to hear it. It's crazy how often they play that song. Still today, 35 years later. This was easily their most commercially successful release, reaching triple platinum, which I kind of feel like is a weird thing. It's a great album, don't get me wrong, but the fact that this sold that many more copies than Operation Mindcrime blows my mind. It kind of does. But maybe it's like we mentioned a lot on this podcast too. It's kind of like the kind of waterfall effect, the trickle down effect. Like Operation Mindcrime was big and it got the band really popular, and then they came out with the next one. Everybody just had to rush and buy it, no matter how good or bad it was. There are albums that are total crap that came out after, not this one, but for bands that came out after a super popular album and sold a bunch of copies within the first couple weeks, but it's a crap album and everybody agrees
Yeah.
that it's crap, but they bought it just because the one before it was so good.
Well, I think in this
But this
case,
isn't that,
it's
but
it's what you said. Silent Lucidity was such a
yeah,
huge song.
yeah.
People
Drew
bought this
people in.
album for the
Yeah.
one song and probably
Yeah.
were pissed off and were like, I should have bought the single, right? Remember
too
the cassette
heavy.
singles? Yeah, like
Yeah,
they're like, what is the rest of this shit? It's the same thing with Extreme. Like, Extreme had More Than Words.
Yeah,
How many people bought that record for that song? And
yeah,
nothing else they have ever done sounds like
yeah,
More Than Words. So it's their biggest song, and
yeah.
people that are fans of the band are not going to say it's their biggest song, but
Right.
that's what I guarantee you. They sold millions of records to somebody that wanted one song that was also in the record store buying Madonna and Paula Abdul, because it's like, oh, this is my
Yeah.
favorite pop song that's out right now.
They're
Silent
asking their
Lucidity.
husband or boyfriend, they're like, who is that band that does that Silent Lucidity song?
Right.
They're like, oh yeah, that's that album over there. And they're like, oh, I gotta have that one
Yep.
too.
Yep.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you're right. You're right. But yeah, this is their most commercially successful release. It reached triple platinum. My favorites on this one are the first 3 and then the next 3 after Della Brown. I do have a skipper on this one, and it's Della Brown. I don't care for that song. It's 7 minutes long. It feels like it's about 20. It's a song 4. I would be a lot better with it if it was song 11 or song 10, but it's such a buzzkill in the middle of this album because Best I Can, The Thin Line, and Jet City Woman are just ridiculously good songs. And then Della Brown comes on and it kills the whole momentum of the album right there for me. So I generally skip that one. I guess I don't hate the song. I just skip it because I know that I like the next 3 songs as much as I like the first 3 songs,
Yeah.
which are Another Rainy Night, Empire, and Resistance. I love all 3 of those songs too. So I just like, I don't want to wait 7 minutes.
Yeah.
I don't really like Della Brown that much, and I just skip it. So for that reason, this album is probably the only reason it's not an A+ for me is because of that one song, which is kind of crappy to do to them, I guess, but because it's not a terrible song. It's not a song I hate. It's just I gotta just skip it. So I just need to continue on with the greatness that was going along, and I don't need this mediocre, slowish song that's 7+ minutes long right in the middle of them. So I have this as number 2. I have this as an A. I do love this album though. Other than that one song, if it wasn't for that, this would be an A+ also. It's just loaded with more great tracks. Like again, it's got Silent Lucidity on it, and I don't hate that song. I loved it when I first heard it. I'm like, oh my god, that's DeGarmo by himself. He wrote that song, lyrics, music. He wrote the song by himself. It's a fantastic song. When I first heard it, I'm like, it's a beautiful song, but it's just been played so much, and that's not their fault. I'm not going to hold them accountable because I loved the song when I first heard it too.
Yeah.
So I can never say it's a terrible song. So, but Hand on Heart's really good. Anybody listening at the end is really good, and that's 7:40 long. But I don't mind listening to that one. Like I really like that song. It's just Della Brown is the only one for me that I don't care for. So, but loaded with more great tracks. A number 2 for me on Empire. So gush away, my friend. I know how
Yeah.
much you love this album.
I do love this album so much. I love every second of it, and it is an A plus for me again. I'll do 2 A pluses, and again, I have to pick one of the two, and I think
Yeah.
Mindcrime is a little better. But I love Empire, and I'm
Yeah.
not skipping anything. I do love Della Brown too. I get why you don't care for it as much. To me, that's just what belongs there, and it's just there, And I love it for sure. But again, it isn't my favorite songs. It isn't. It's probably, if I had to rank every song 1 to 11, that's probably 10 or 11. So I get what you're saying. But Best I Can, Thin Line, Jet City Woman, Empire. I love Silent Lucidity. I never get sick of it. One of my all-time favorite songs. Again, there's a bunch of them that Queensryche does that I would put in my all-time top, whatever, 150, whatever, 150 songs, 200 songs. But these riffs are just timeless for me.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
All these riffs. Anybody listening is one of my hidden gems. I think it's fantastic. Just it's just the production. It's almost like hysteria level, for me. Like the Def Leppard's, like they get all this notoriety for production. This one is that for me. It just sounds so damn good. Another rainy night without, just another huge song. It's just every song on here just humongous.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. So
They couldn't release enough singles off of this album. I mean, they
No,
should have released more. I
Yeah.
mean, the Thin Line is outstanding. Like, they didn't release that one,
Nope.
They didn't release Another Rainy Night Without You. That's an outstanding song. Like, these songs could have been easily top 10 songs.
Sure.
I don't know why they didn't just keep releasing one after another. So
Yeah.
so good.
Yep. Totally agree. What was I gonna say?
Sorry.
Just no, you're good. DeGarmo is another tour de force for him.
On fire, man.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say. So my first moment of ever hearing of Queensryche was the MTV Music Awards, 1991, where they played Silent Lucidity, and I remember, probably one of the first moments where I was like, man, a guitar making that sound is so good. So they did it again. It's a slow song, and everybody's kind of sitting on stools, and then it kind of breaks.
Like more than words. I mean,
Yeah,
you're
exactly.
so right. It's almost exactly the same.
It is. But then they break off to DeGarmo playing the solo of Silent Lucidity, and it just that vision of him and his long hair, just playing that guitar.
I always
solo.
had the hat with the buckles on it. Like, he's not
Yep.
wearing it in this picture, but he wore it all. It was like a signature thing, kind of
Yep.
almost Richie.
Blackmore?
No.
Richie Sambora?
Richie Sambora-ish. I don't know. We're having brain problems today. They're old men. Almost Richie Sambora-ish. He wears it in the Wanted Dead or Alive. He doesn't wear it all the time, but
Right.
it was like a signature thing for DeGarmo. Like, he always had it on.
Yeah. But again, I was 10 years old when this came out, and when they did that song, it stuck in my brain, like you said. And of course, I didn't get the album right away. I wasn't running to go get Empire, but I remember that song was on MTV all the time, and then I remember starting to see the other songs. They had tons of videos on MTV from this record. So yeah, this was my entry point, and like I listened to this album for probably 10 years before I went to any other album, including Mindcrime, which I was depriving myself for a long time. But once I went back, obviously I kept going all around this album and loved everything else they've done around this era. So Empire's fantastic. A plus, number 2. These guys deserve 2 A plus albums. I mean, they are top of the heap for me, and these guys are one of those bands that is kind of a gateway to me to like a band like Opeth. Of course, Opeth is much heavier.
Oh, yeah.
But a lot of the same type of arrangements and stuff like that with the guitars and things like that. So I love Empire. So Empire number 2, A plus.
All right. So on to Promised Land, October 18th, 1994. So 4 years in between these two albums. 11 songs on this one. This was produced by the band and James Barton. I give them a lot of credit. Now, I'm gonna say some not so nice things about this album. I'm not gonna trash it. I just don't love it. But I am gonna give them a ton of credit for mostly remaining themselves. In 1994, and not trying to put out a currently popular grunge album like so many bands from their era tried to do at this time.
That they waited one album to do instead.
Yeah, well, we'll get there. We'll get there. Easy, easy.
I mean, we
You're
got to
right.
give them
You're
credit.
right.
We got to take it away.
You're
later
right.
on.
We do got to take it away later. But they did try some different things, like the song "Promised Land," for instance. They're even from Seattle, where so many of those grunge bands came from.
Yeah.
And they had to know a lot of those guys too, because a lot of those bands started in the mid '80s. They didn't just start in 1992. Like, they had been around a while, so they had to know a lot of these guys too. But they didn't cave at this point into doing that. So, like, many bands tried to do that. Some of them pulled it off. Some of them didn't. A lot of them didn't.
Right.
But a lot of the bands from the 80s, the mid 80s, tried to do that. And I give them credit that they didn't do that. They tried to remain themselves. There are, I feel like I want to say there's just too many songs on here that kind of sound the same to me. That's kind of the problem. And for me, this album suffers from a track sequencing issue. There's definitely some good songs in here, but it gets a little repetitive, I feel like. I like the bonus track rocked up version of Someone Else versus the piano solo version that's on the original album. It's the last track. It's written by DeGarmo and Tate, but Jeff Tate kind of, I bet DeGarmo plays piano on it, but it's just Jeff Tate singing over piano. But there's there's a full band version of this song that's actually a couple minutes longer that I actually prefer, because it makes it a lot better song to me. But I just wanted to kind of throw that in there, because I did listen to that and I was like, man, I like this one a lot more than the other one. And I didn't realize how good that was, because I don't listen to it often enough, that the full band version of the song. My favorites on this one are I Am I, Damaged, Bridge, and One More Time. Skippers there's none really. I don't really want to skip anything on this album. There's no songs I really dislike here. It's just not up to the huge standards that they set on the previous two albums. They're kind of a victim of their own success for me here. And so I had this as a B minus. I have it at number 5. I have the warning ahead of this one. I think you have the warning behind this one, because it has to be either this one or the next one. And I know it ain't the next one. So I was like, wow, he actually has this one ahead. But this album, this is where I'm going to say that it suffers from track sequencing. So you have the slow songs, 2 slow songs, Out of Mind and Bridge, kind of back to back. And then you have a weird Promised Land song, and then an instrumental with a lot of electronics and disconnected, which I don't mind. I like the song. And then you go into another slow Lady Jane song. It just that's 5 songs in a row in the middle of this album that just are kind of all at the same kind of slowish pace, or are not Queensryche-ish or Queensryche-like. Like the instrumental and Promised Land don't really sound like Queensryche songs, and they're kind of bridged in between these other slow songs that are all kind of just there. I really like 3 out of the 4 of those songs, but I just putting them all together in a row just kind of really bogs this album down for me. So, but even with that, this album isn't far behind The Warning for me. Like I mentioned, that The Warning's kind of creeping up on Rage for Order for me. Because the more I listen to The Warning, like these days, the more I like it, even though the production sucks. I just like the songs. I like the heaviness and the edge to it. There's none of that edge or heaviness really on this album. So it's not even as nearly as heavy as Empire is, or Operation Mindcrime for that matter. It's just it's kind of a Queensryche light. Now, it's like I said, I want to say that it's not terrible. There's nothing on here I'd skip. It's just not to that level, and that's the way I really liked my Queensryche. So, and I prefer, if there's a difference, like The Warning was heavier, I just prefer the heavier stuff to this. That's really all there is to it. So I have this as B minus ish, number 5, B minus, number 5. Like I said, still in the B range though. There's still some good stuff on here. What did you think of the Promised Land? I should actually update. It should update Rob's rankings here.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I have to find it again.
Okay. No, so I probably like Promised Land more than most. I think it's fantastic. I think it's really, really great. It sounds really, really good. Definitely not as heavy. For sure, agree with you there. For me, and it might be when it was released for me, I wasn't super into a lot of really heavy stuff until probably the early 2000s. So,
Okay.
but I again the this obviously is nothing. I mean, I even have Rage for Order ahead of this one. So, I still do like the early stuff better, but I just want to give the appreciation. I think this is fantastic songwriting, and it's not the brand that they have done the last couple records, but still think all these songs are fantastic. I just going through and listening to these, like the compositions on all this stuff is so good. It's so well produced. It feels more personal too. And again, I can't really speak to DeGarmo here, but you know, he seems to, a lot of his credits are a lot like these emotional songs and in those type of things. So I don't know, like I really clung on to these songs a lot. IMI is fantastic. Damaged is probably my favorite song on there. And I like the slow songs. I could see the order being an issue. It does seem like kind of like a buzzkill
I wish they just
in the
split
middle.
up,
Yeah,
like,
just mix
that's
them
the
up a
only
little bit.
thing, I just feel like it kind of bogs the album down. Like I'm into it, and then
Yeah.
I'm like, it's just by the time I get to 3 or 4 of those, I'm like, man, why can't they spread these out?
Yeah. But man, Lady Jane, One More Time, Someone Else. I think these are great songs. And I just think it's kind of an underrated record, especially for me. I come back to it an awful lot, not as much as the two pretty much tour de forces of music. That's two of my favorite albums ever. But Promised Land, I come back to that one probably even more than Rage for Order, even though I could say that it's a better album. The Rage is, but this one is, I don't know, maybe a guilty pleasure of mine. I like it, and I agree with you. I feel like what hurt it more is bands like Nirvana being big is they wanted them maybe to go that route, or that's what people were listening to those days. So the fact that they kind of kept it more Queensrychean
Yeah.
than than whatever was going on, I think Nirvana hurt these guys more than anything. Those type of things. But I think this is a fantastic album. I have it a B. I have it the same as Warning. I just think for where Warning might be heavier and more classic rock feel, I think the production of this, really brings them much closer together. And I think the songs on both albums are fantastic. I could flip 4 and 5 probably on any given day, but today I'm going for Promised Land and a B.
All right. So I mentioned Rob's rankings, my buddy Rob. He's pretty much looks like along the lines with you. I'll just give you all of his because we only have one more to go.
Yeah, go ahead.
And it's his bottom one. It's my bottom one. It's your bottom one. There's no secret there. So he has Operation Mindcrime #1. He has Rage for Order. I said he was a huge fan of that album, ahead of Empire. And then he has Empire. And then, like you, he has Promised Land ahead of The Warning. So Promised Land 5 or 4, The Warning 5, and Here in the Now Frontier as number 6. And he said The Warning would possibly be higher with better production. Pretty
Totally
much
agree.
right on exactly what you said.
Yep.
So that's what split the hairs for him was, that the production on The Warning. So he has those two close. I have them close. You have them close. So
Yep.
it kind of makes sense.
Yep.
And we've used so far today Queensryche-ish, Queensryche-like, and Queensrychean.
Yep.
So I just want to throw that out there.
Nice
Look at
call.
us! Look at us wordsmithing.
Yep.
All right. On to the last album we're going to rank today. Here in the Now Frontier, March 25th, 1997. 14 songs on this one.
Jesus.
Probably about 9 too many, or really 4 or 5 too many.
Yeah.
But the songs aren't very good, probably 9 too many. So this is Peter Collins, and they brought him back. This is definitely, like you mentioned, this is different.
Yep.
This is it's stripped down from all they were doing with on the last 3 albums with added instruments, arrangements. DeGarmo was playing the sitar and he was playing like, I don't know, a cello or something like on the last album on Promised Land. Like this is just the guys and their instruments. There's no like the spoken word clips, the
Yeah.
extra instruments and arrangements. Like none of that stuff is here. It's like kind of way stripped down. And like we said, it's way too long at 14 tracks. There's 5 songs on this album that they've never, or almost never played live. 5 songs, which is
Yeah.
crazy. Even during this tour, there's 5 songs they didn't play off of this album. It kind of right away feels like to me that this album lacks the emotion of Queensryche and Queensryche like stuff. It just doesn't. It feels emotionless. It feels like kind of Jeff Tate sings a lot like he's just kind of going through the motions. Like the huge soaring vocals just aren't there anywhere on this album. Like and right from the first track, it feels like it's missing in Sign of the Times. And I don't dislike Sign of the Times. It's one of the songs I do really like on this one, but it feels like the emotion's not there and it's just totally kind of different for them. I feel like they're trying to do just a little too much in here that just isn't them.
Yeah.
Hit the Black is a good song with a really, really good riff.
Yeah.
But it doesn't sound at all like Queensryche. Nothing like Queensryche. I mean, it could have been anybody,
Yeah.
performing this song. Even Jeff Tate doesn't sound like Jeff Tate on this one. Like
No, he doesn't.
And it's not a bad song. And like I said, the guitar riff I like a lot, but I'm like, is this Queensryche or is this any number of 20 other bands? So, my favorites on here are Sign of the Times. I like the song You a lot. And I like Reach. Reach is probably the heaviest song on this album with Hit the Black, I guess. But Reach at least kind of sounds more like Queensryche a little bit, and it's heavy. My skippers are miles away, and I'm sorry. I mean, I know you love Chris DeGarmo, but he's not a vocalist. So the
Nope.
song "All I Want" that he sings is the only one that he has sung, that he did main vocals on. It's not very good.
Nope. It's not.
So no disrespect to him. It's just I don't really like the song.
Right.
And kind of the other slowish ballad salad songs on here. There's quite a few of them because there's 14, and there's some slowish garbage on here that I just don't care for. I didn't want to list them all out because I don't really want to make it sound like I'm hating on it that much. I mean, it's just kind of mediocre to me, this album. So I have it kind of as a C minus range. It's just kind of mediocre stuff. There's a lot of slowish, kind of boring stuff that just kind of it doesn't have the feel or the emotion that they're known for and that they bring to some of the slower songs, like we mentioned on the last album. Because I do, even though those were all put together in Promised Land, I still like a bunch of those songs because they're good and they have feeling and emotion. These are just kind of there.
Yeah.
So this is not the same progressive metal band that they once were, or it's not even really close. Couple good songs, and the rest ranges from okay to boring on here. So I have C minus. This is easily the bottom of the barrel for me out of these 6 albums. What did you think of Here in the Now Frontier?
You with a bunch of ears and jars.
Yeah, I know,
in the
ears
deserts.
like why do we have ears in jars, guys? What are we doing?
Well, it's here, here in the New Frontier. Yeah, so I don't think this is a bad album at all. I just think that it doesn't really belong. It's like, kind of what you were like going to here. Like if some rando band came out with this, I could be like, all right, for its time, it was what people were doing, and it sounds
hear what
pretty
else
cool, right?
Kind of.
It's just, like you have the information, that
Yeah.
all 5 of these guys have made some of the greatest metal albums, in our time, and now they're putting this out. So, I remember Sign of the Times was on the radio all the time, when I was, really big into radio at the time. So, I think that's a great riff. I think it's a cool song. I like a lot of the first half of this record, not as a Queensryche album, because it doesn't stand up to any of the previous 5 records at all. But, just listening to it kind of in a bubble, I wouldn't not listen to it. Like I wouldn't skip a ton of it. I like Sign of the Times. I like Get a Life. I like The Voice Inside. I like Saved. Hit the Black. I think you mentioned that one as well. Those are pretty cool to me. Not as a Queensryche band song, but I don't know. It's just one of those things. It's really hard when it sounds so different than everything else. Like I definitely don't want to shit all over it because, I really respect these guys as songwriters, but obviously not their best stuff. I don't think anybody's going to argue that. And obviously there was a lot of issues going on with the band. They're not one of those bands that broke up and got back together a million times. Like these guys left. DeGarmo didn't do anything ever again with these guys. Like there was some deeper shit going on, obviously, right? Like obviously we saw the drama that happened with Tate and the rest of the guys with the, all the drama and stuff going on with them. But, the obviously, they kind of disappeared and DeGarmo, I don't know. Has he done anything? I mean, he's done like little things here and there, I think I've read, but like I don't think he's joined like a band and anything like. And for him to have just written like so many amazing songs and just
it's sad too. I put him in the Vito Bratta category, the White Lion guitar player. Not as bad because DeGarmo has a lot more material out there for us to still listen to.
Yeah.
But the man just disappeared.
Yep.
Like disappeared. And that's what happened to Vito Bratta. Like the dude, I love Vito Bratta's guitar playing too. And the man just vanished. Like he put 4 albums out, I think, with White Lion, and then he was gone. And he's never put anything out in the last 30 years. And DeGarmo's kind of the same way. He's got a little bit more material out there, but he just vanished. What a great guitar player. To just, I feel like we're kind of been cheated, because he's so good, that I would have listened to if he wanted to do other stuff. I would have listened to that too, because I really am a fan of his also, but there's nothing. I don't think he's really done anything else.
So the only thing that he has done.
Oh, here you go.
Yep. So obviously he came back. We were going to do Tribe too.
Yes, he co-wrote 5 songs?
He played on like 5 or 6 songs on it, and that was it. He actually did. He was Jerry Cantrell's tour guitar player for a couple tours, and he was actually on Degradation Trip Volume 1 in 2002, and then he made contributions to Rainier Fog, which was an Alice in Chains record in 2018. That's literally it. So he must be friends with Jerry Cantrell because that's all he's done is really all that stuff. So,
and that was what 02 and what did you say 06?
No, 2018 was Rainier Fog.
Okay.
So, yeah. So it's just very strange. So
yeah, so he's still out there, but I look at Jerry Cantrell stuff as Jerry Cantrell. Like,
of course, right,
I mean,
he writes.
I wouldn't listen to that for Chris DeGarmo.
No,
you because he's not writing that stuff. Or I'm sure maybe he did help write some of that stuff. I don't know. I'd have to look, but maybe I'll have to visit some of that stuff and see if I can hear some of him in there. I don't know.
Yeah, I just learned it just looking at it now, so I'll have to go check it out too.
I was not aware of that either.
But Here in the Now Frontier, easy number 6 for me. I have it like a C, same place as you. It's not bad. If I heard it, I didn't not enjoy listening to it this week. I just had to separate it because if you compare it right next to all these other albums, even The Warning, where I have number 5, it's not in the same ballpark. It's a different band. Yeah. So
different band with the same guys. Very strange.
So what do you got? 6-1.
6-1. Here, Ears in the Now Frontier. Ears in the Sand. Number 6. Promised Land. Number 5. The Warning. Number 4. Rage for Order. Number 3. Empire. Number 2. And Operation Mindcrime. Number 1. What about you, partner?
All right. Number 6 here in the Now Frontier. 5 is The Warning. 4 is Promised Land. Number 3, Rage for Order. Number 2, Empire. Number 1, Mindcrime. Operation Mindcrime.
Operation
Mindcrime.
So good.
Yep, that's fantastic stuff. All right, well, that was pretty enjoyable. We just got through we didn't have to go through, Y or Q2K and some
Tribe and then the split happened, and then Jeff Tate and Queensryche the band are putting out albums called Frequency Unknown, which is FU.
Yeah.
I mean, they're really just going at each other while they're in this court battle and both putting out albums like FU into each other. It's weird. It's just weird. It got really weird. But there is some really good stuff in there. Like Brian will tell us if we do the other 10 albums. Like Digital Noise Alliance is, I think, the most recent
That's most
of
recent.
the Queensryche, and man, there's some scorchers on that album too. It's not. I'm not ever going to rank them probably in the top 3 or 4. I don't know. Maybe it might be in the warning area for me.
Yep.
So maybe in the top 4-ish, but they're never going to really top the highest of the Queensryche albums. But there's some really, really good stuff in there. And there's probably some good stuff on some of those other ones that I kind of didn't really give that much of a chance to either. Because
and then
it's
there's
just not the Queensryche that I
then
like.
there's Dedicated to Chaos, which if we could avoid talking about, we would, but we're not going to.
I think we have number 10 in the next grouping already.
Yeah, right. Well, you may have a different opinion, but
yeah,
I remember.
I might. It's stuff that I'm sure there's some of those I've heard maybe once or maybe not at all. I'm sure there's albums I haven't heard at all by them. So
yeah,
I know my buddy like Rob. He listens to every album they put out and everything Tate puts out. He listens to almost everything everybody puts out. It seems like in metal, like he has a top 20, he has a list of albums for every year. He's got a whole spreadsheet going back to 2020, 2019.
Yeah, you showed me that. That's
letter
cool.
grade albums. I actually added our tab for us in his spreadsheet that he sends me every year for just ideas for us to do this podcast, because he has so many bands in there, and I get so much from him that I would have never heard from otherwise. He finds them on Metal Injection list or whoever's coming out with whatever, and he tries them, and he's like, hey, he'll send me stuff all the time. He's like, hey, you might like this one. This is Five Finger Death Punch or you might like, he knows what I like. So he's like, you're probably going to like this one. You're probably going to like this one. He finds so many of these where I'm like, wow, man, this is really good. Would have never heard it if it wasn't for him. So he listens to a lot of this stuff, but I'm sure he likes a lot more of this Queensryche stuff that I have. There's some of them that I'm sure I've never really listened to. So. But yeah, we might do those next time around in Q. There's very, very few big Q bands out there. We did Queen already.
Yep.
We've now done, almost half of Queensryche. So there's not much else really out there as far as rock and metal go in Q. So that people are going to want to hear. I'm sure we can find some, but I'm sure there's probably some band called Quota or something out there we could probably go find.
Isn't that Queens of the Stone Age? Aren't they Quota?
Katsa.
Yeah,
I don't know.
but
we could do them. They would qualify. They have a lot of listeners, so we could probably do them. But there's just not that many more. So we'll probably revisit the rest of Queensryche at some point, I'd imagine. So, and I'm sure Brian would enjoy it, and maybe we'll get Rob on too. I don't know.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
On, so.
All right. Well, a shout out to everybody. Again, thanks for hanging with us through the year. Hope everybody out there has a happy holidays.
Yes.
Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah.
Safe travels. All of that.
Yeah, it's supposed to be freezing rain around the Cleveland area next week. So if you're traveling, please be careful.
Enjoy your families. You get precious little time with them. You think you're going to have forever, and a lot of times you don't. So enjoy the time you have. But we'll be back in the first, probably Tuesday. We're going to have a little chat maybe right after this about what we're going to do for the letter R, because we don't really know, but we have 3 weeks to figure that out. So we'll be back at January 5th or 6th. January 6th, I believe, is the Tuesday. So we should be back. We may talk about moving the show to Thursdays instead of Tuesdays at some point, but we'll get into that later. Kelly's job is changing all the time, so who knows what days she'll be working regularly, and then your schedule's always changing too. So it seems like once you block out a day, that's good, because
then I can make plans.
You can plan a plan around it. So if it makes more sense to move it to Thursday for us personally, then maybe we'll do that, or we'll just keep it on Tuesday, but it'll still be in the evening just like it is now. So
all right.
Well,
again, thank you all for listening, and as always, we'll see you in the next one.
Rock on.
Looks like you've been missing a lot of work lately.
I wouldn't say I've been missing it, Bob.
What would you say you do here?
God damn it. Bob, we love playing here tonight. My brother's ready.
It helps if you think of it as a game, Bob. Every game has a winner and a loser.
You must possess strength to inflict pain, Bob.